Okay, so next thing we're going to talk about is something called end behavior, and it's this huge, big chart, and it's actually something called the leading coefficient test. And we recreated this chart in class, but you can find the same chart on page 315 in your book. And for those of you who are absent, you're going to have a quiz over recreating this chart. Now you don't have to do all of it, but you have to do this little picture part right here, the little words, this little N part up here, this A sub N junk. Yeah, so you have a quiz over this. Now let me explain what this is. Up here there's a huge equation. Can you see it? Up here there's a huge equation. And the first term is the most important term. That's the most important term. That A sub n x to the n. And that tells us all kinds of good stuff. And if you look at this chart, I think I'm going to use the one in the notes better. But if you look at this chart, the first thing that you have to check for is whether n is even or odd. And n is your degree, as in your highest degree. So let's say I have, as an example, f of x equals 3x to the fourth plus 2x squared plus 1. And I want to know the end behavior. As in, what does it do on the ends? Does it go up or down? Our most important term is the term with the highest exponent. So I'm going to look at this 3x to the fourth. And the n is the exponent. So if you're looking at this if you're looking at this exponent, it's 4. And so let's go to our chart. Our chart tells us that if n is even, you look at this left-hand side. So our 4 is even. So now we have to look at the left-hand side, and it talks about this a sub n. Okay, quit freaking out. A sub n is the number attached to that letter with the highest exponent. So a sub n is 3. And the chart says to tell whether that a sub n is positive or negative. So my 3 is positive. So now we just have to look at the chart again and look at the picture. When n is even and 3 is positive, or when n is even and a sub n is positive, my graph looks like this on the ends, or it rises on both sides. So the answer would be to this one, rises on both sides. It's not that hard. The hardest part is remembering that chart, and I'm not going to give it to you on the test, so you have to memorize it. Let's do another example. G of x equals negative 2x cubed plus 8x squared minus 4x to the fifth. And I want to know the end behavior. Okay, I did this to trick you. First, we have to look at the term with the highest exponent. It's not this third, it's not this squared, it's this fifth. So I'm going to pull that out, and then I'm going to talk about it. First, I have to look at the exponent, and that's the letter n. So n is 5. And if we look back at our chart, we have to tell whether our n is even or odd, and ours is odd. So now we have to look at the number attached, that negative 4, and that's the a sub n. And we have to tell whether it's positive or negative. So this one's negative. Then we just look at our chart to tell what the picture does. So for n odd and a sub n negative, so for n odd and a sub n negative, it looks like this. It rises on the left, falls on the right. And that's end behavior.